Hi. Tonight I was wanting to go dancing. I haven't been dancing since New Year's Eve, and it's the 19th of January 2022. So I've been missing my dancing, and I was planning to go, but just don't have the energy. So I'm just going to chill at home as usual, which I'm just thankful that I have a nice, comfortable home. That's okay. And I enjoy talking to you guys. Sometimes I don't feel like it, but it's all good tonight. So, I wanted to mention something important. Now, you know that I'm studying the Bible now in my story, 1980, and learning a lot, Bob and I both. And one thing I have to mention is that the state of California, Medi-Cal, they paid the doctor's bills, in case you were wondering. It's like Medicaid. And that's how we got that taken care of. I told you how we got our food and we were on welfare now at this point in my story. Well, the church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, they talked a lot about tithing, and a lot of churches do. Okay, so in Malachi, now again, I'm not turning this into a Bible study. I will mention the Bible when it's pertinent to my story. Okay? So I hope you can bear with that. So Malachi Chapter 3, I believe it is. It's the one and only time in the Bible where God says, "Test me in this." And when he's asking the people to bring their tithes to the storehouse. Now, these days, church talks about tithes as money. Back then, anything that you had, your increase, which would be crops or whatever you got an increase in, you would bring that 10%. Tithe means 10%, right? Well, some churches, like the one I was going to, talked about this a lot and really put pressure on people to tithe and made you feel guilty if you didn't. And now we didn't have any money, but when we got on welfare, we started tithing from the welfare check. Now, most of you will probably think that will not like that. And I understand that. And I even today, I don't believe, if it was today, I wouldn't do that. I've come a long way since the beginning of my Bible readings. I've read it all several times since, and I've learned a lot more. And God is way bigger than that. Bigger than any church teaches, I believe. So, it says, "Test me," because God says in Malachi Chapter 3 that I will pour you out a blessing. If you tithe faithfully, I will pour you out a blessing that is almost too big for you to receive. And we were tithing on our welfare checks. And, Bob was in agreement with it and everything. So we were giving 10% back to the church. But the church was, in turn, taking care of us, making sure we had all of our needs as far as food and everything goes, right? And I really do feel like that was the fulfillment of that promise from God when he gave us twins, because it was like we didn't have room for them. And that was the promise, that I'm going to pour you a blessing that you don't even have room for. That was so literal. And I do really believe that was a promise that God kept us as new believers. We had so much faith to give back 10% of our welfare check that he really double blessed us with twins. I do believe that, and I forever praise him every day. So, the church also gave me a baby shower, which I should have mentioned last time. But, an unbelievable baby shower for twins, right? And like all the women from Broadway Church were there. Some people that didn't even know us. And they gave us not I mean, everybody gave us double gifts for two, and the cutest little outfits, all kinds of sweet things, homemade things, all kinds of stuff. We had the one crib from Lauren we still had, so the church gave us another crib out of their nursery. And also, we had one car seat from Lauren, and the church gave us another car seat. We had one high chair from Lauren, and the church gave us another high chair. So we had everything. And one of the people that came to the shower that I was friends with, who had a little baby close to Lauren's age, she gave me the double stroller. And now my friend Leanne, she didn't go to that shower because she was not part of downtown Broadway San Diego church. Leanne lived out near me, and she gave me a rocking chair, which was really, she said, you got to have a rocking chair, with those babies. And she gave me a rocking chair, and that I used all the time. So we were so, so blessed. And those babies were so well dressed. We got enough clothes from that baby shower to last for 2 years. Never had to buy a bit of clothing for 2 years, and they were the best dressed little boys in church, no doubt. So let's see. Now we move on to, okay, I also forgot to tell you when the babies were born, okay? I just told you they were beautiful and healthy and all that, and they were. But one of them had a birth defect. And that's a hard thing to hear from the doctor when they present you with your baby and they tell you there's something wrong. But the birth defect, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's fairly common. And they reassured me that they could fix it surgically and it was nothing to worry about. But they would have to wait until baby was 2.5 because he wouldn't be able to withstand the surgery until then. So that was something that was kind of hanging out there, right? So when we came home from the hospital with our 2 little bundles, I stayed in the hospital 2 days. They wanted me to go home the next day. I'm on Medi-Cal, right? I mean, they were ready to send me home next morning with 2 premature babies. But I was so bruised from Barrett being breech, so sore and bruised, way more than with the first baby. I could barely walk, and I told them, I could barely walk. I can't do it. So they kept me an extra day. And here's the little babies when they're coming home, okay? Oh, sweet little guys. They both fit in one little car bed, they called it back then. We just stuck that car bed in the back seat. They do better than that now to keep them safe. Okay, so when we made that long trip home from the hospital, guess who was waiting for us at our trailer home? Pastor Boney, the heroin addict pastor who baptized us, who who made us fall in love with the Bible. And he was there waiting for us to come home from the hospital. So that was really sweet. Our first visitor, he was so good to us. That whole church was so good to us. So I nursed the twins. I had learned from the La Leche book and from nursing Lauren, but the La Leche book actually talked about nursing twins. So I knew that it was possible. They told me what was a good positions, how to handle it and all. So I was nursing the twins. I gotta say, it wasn't as easy as it was with Lauren. babies took more out of me because I was doing double. Even though I had so much milk with Lauren, I felt like, twins would be no problem. But, once they actually started nursing, it was, I could feel it. I was more drained than I ever was with Lauren, taking care of those babies. So, it all went well. Uh, the hardest time, they were good babies, but sometimes they would cry together. And that was really hard when they were both crying. You know, um, there was times it was very hard, but most of the time it wasn't that bad. You'd like, oh, and I didn't have a washing machine. So, and we didn't have money to pay for Pampers. Uh, we would get one box of Pampers. We got a few with the baby shower, but uh, I'd keep one box of Pampers. That was about the only brand I think back then. This is when disposable diapers were new, but everybody was using them right away, but we couldn't afford them. So I had one box of Pampers that I would save for when we went out, you know, when we were away from home. Otherwise, I kept them in cloth diapers. I did use the little diaper liners, the blue diaper liners. They look like the fabric softener sheets. That's what they look like. And you put them inside the diaper when you're expecting a number two. And had the diaper pail with the bleach, all the old-fashioned way. And I was washing diapers in the bathtub every day. Would skip Sabbath, was our day of rest, and we didn't do any work, and we prepared food the day before, and sundown Friday to sundown Saturday was kept special, like Jewish Seventh-day Adventists did the same. So anyway, washing diapers by hand in the tub and hanging them out on the line. They would dry in a snap. Anything I hung out on the line, they'd dry. By the time I finished, because it was so hot and dry out there, it's like living in the desert, arid, high chaparral. That was the climate we're in. So by the time I finished hanging out the laundry, I could start taking it down because the ones I hung at first were already dry. That's how easy it was. So, let's see. Oh, the hardest thing for me was going food shopping. Now, like I say, Bob was going to school full time. That's why we were on welfare. He's going to school full time and had homework and, doing a little stained glass on the side. But that's the reason we went on welfare, because he needed to go to school so he could get a good paying job. So the hardest thing for me was once a week when I would drop him off for school and I would go shopping. And shopping with 3 babies was hard. Now, Lauren was 2.5 when they were born. I had one full-size shopping cart that I put the babies in with blankets to keep them, comfortable and warm. And then Lauren sat up in the front, where the little kids sit, right? So I'm pushing one shopping cart with one hand and pulling an empty cart behind me with the other hand to put the groceries in. So that's the way I went around the store, pushing two carts. And it was difficult, and the babies cried every time I went food shopping. They didn't like it in the supermarket. They didn't like that shopping cart, and they would just scream the whole way around the supermarket. I had crying in stereo. That was the worst time of having twins and a 2.5-year-old. So here's a picture of them in the shopping cart. they were just getting ready to start bawling, I think. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, well, anyway, Lauren loved her babies. She absolutely loved, she called them her baby, my babies. That's what she called them. And yeah, she just loved the babies. She was very attentive. That maternal instinct really came out of her. Okay, so um, we started going to Dulzura Church more, the little tiny church out near us in the country, because of convenience, you know. Uh, and I told you that pastor was very boring, but people were great. And every once in a while, another young couple with children, one or more, would come to visit from the city. And every time that happened, of course, we would talk to them, and we would really make friends instantly. You know, we got our faith in common, and we have kids in common, and we're the same age. So I'm going to mention about some of these because they're all part of my story. Okay. I already told you Diane and Carl, they were in the car. He was in the Navy, and they had a little boy, and then she got pregnant again right after me. And she was a very close friend, very dear, sweet friend. And they lived at the naval base in San Diego, but once in a while, and they went to Broadway Church in San Diego downtown. That's how we met them. But once in a while, they would even drive out to Dulzura Church to hang out with us for the day. And then there was another couple. I'm going to call them Mary and Burt. Okay. And they had two little boys that were just a little older than Lauren. And they both were Mexican descent. Her mother came over, and her mom, I mean, couldn't even talk English. He was here like another generation, I think. You know, his mother talked fluent English very well, and they would come out to visit, and they really liked it. They said that they were thinking about looking to buy a place out there or move in out in the country, and they liked it out there, and they liked the little church atmosphere. Nobody liked the pastor so much. Everybody liked him as a person, but his preaching was so boring. Oh my goodness. But they came because of the people and the location and all. And then there was another couple, Paul and Cindy, and they had a little girl also. And she was in between the age of Lauren and the babies, the twins. And they lived in Hamul, which was out in the country also, but not as far out as we were. And he worked for IBM. Now, this guy was like a genius. He was a genius, I believe. Still is. I think he's still alive. Anyway, he worked for IBM. This is 1980. So he was out there. He was like one of the pioneers of IT. And his wife stayed home with the baby, little girl. And so they would come out. They went to the church in town. They were like in the middle between the church in town and Dulzura Church. So they would go to both back and forth, but made friends with them right away. And then there was another couple, Ward and Margie. And Ward was a biker, a big, burly, husky biker dude with a big black beard, and he was a former cocaine addict. And his wife was younger. They had a boy who was several years older than Lauren. I mean, he was yeah, he was several years older than Lauren. And a little girl that was just, again, I think she was in between Lauren and the twins. And they lived also out there in Hamul. And everybody who lived in Hamul had acreage. They all had like 20 acres, or mostly everybody had 20. They had parcels of 20 acres. So Paul and Cindy did, and Ward and Margie did. So needless to say, we hit it off with them right away, especially Ward, because he had a background that Bob could relate to right away. And we got good friends with them right away. And then there was Trisha, who I introduced earlier, and who was our neighbor right there on the 40 acres that we lived on, who had the two little toddlers. And she would go to Del Zura Church sometimes. I guess when we brought her, I don't know how she got there otherwise, but she liked it there. And then there was my friend Leanne, and she would come on and off because her husband wasn't that crazy about her going, and they had other things going on. They kept very busy, and so she would come on and off. So we were the old church, a little tiny country church. When first time we went, there was probably only 20 people there. I mean, there might have been only 12 people there sometimes. And if there was 30, it was a good showing, because that pastor was so boring, and they were mostly all very old people. And the only kids that came were teenagers, at least between 10 and 17, older kids. So there was only one Sabbath school class for those older kids in one class. There was nothing for the little kids. But because all of us started coming, and we all had these young kids, they got together a class for the little ones. And that teacher was Mrs. Sparks, who was awesome. She was a real school teacher, and she started up a class for the little guys, and that was great. So I am out of time now, and we will get back to more exciting stuff happening. Thanks for watching.